Welcome one, welcome all to DeFi Crypto and Airdrops. I am Mike, aka Veteran Crypto, and today we are going to cover Keeta and the live stress test. Actually, looks like we caught it just right. Well, I'm going to stop talking, and we'll see what's gonna happen here. Are we going to pump? Or are we going to dump? We've been having a good 1 hour. Looks like we're up about 6%
All
on
right,
the
awesome. Welcome everyone to our stress test. We are really excited to kind of show what we've been working on over the past few years, and obviously we've done some testing internally and things like that. But this is the first time for everyone on the team that we've actually made this public. So it's a very big moment for us. On stream is obviously myself, CEO of Keeta, and then Roy Keene, our CTO. We have a handful of people behind the scenes that are helping us make this happen, both internally on the Keeta team as well as on with our partners. So I appreciate everyone that is tuning in and supporting us as we hopefully make history. Roy, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Roy. I'm the
fingers crossed.
CEO of
Fingers
Keeta.
crossed.
I've been working at Keeta on this project for a few years now, and so yeah, we released some videos of a previous stress test we did a couple of years ago, just to validate that the system scales up. But this will be the first time we've done a live stream, I think.
Definitely, it's definitely a little nervous for me, but I know.
Can you guys hear
we've
Keeta team
tested
okay,
a lot. So, do you want to talk through kind of how the test is going to work and explain kind of what we're doing right now with the ramp up?
Yeah. So, in order to generate the traffic, we need to generate a bunch of blocks and then reach consensus on those blocks.
Appreciate
it. That's more work than just a single computer can do. So we have that distributed out to several thousand systems. So we'll be from several thousand different systems requesting the votes and blocks on those blocks that are generated for a few different thousand accounts. I don't know the exact numbers because it's just based on how much we need to reach the target. So we're just going to continuously add more and more load and ramp up the TPS and reach consensus, distribute out the blocks, go through the voting process, which it's described more in detail and we've talked about it before, but it's a two-phase voting process.
Sounds like the guys in a cave.
Where we send out a temporary vote, which is a 5-minute vote to reach quorum before getting a permanent vote, and so then we can actually send out the votes with the quorum attached, and everybody can then accept those. So that's going to be kind of what the test is and how we achieve that. So we'll also be processing this on 30,000 different computers. So it's not like, just because everything can be done in parallel, it's not like one computer is handling all this traffic. Each node, each representative node, has a bunch of actual different computers backing them. So we'll be processing lots and lots of transactions in parallel.
What up, Wispy?
I just realized there could be an echo, Roy, with the way that this is working. I apologize to anyone that has that echo. It might be, I'm not sure if it's on my side or if it's on Roy's, but we'll take a look and try and get it fixed.
Keeta price is stable right now. $1.33, almost $1.34.
All right, we're starting to see an uptick in traffic now. It's a bit of an echo. So
yeah, Roy, I'm just going to mute my mic while you're speaking, so that way it's no echo.
All right. Yeah, I'm looking at the stats here. So delay in getting stats out.
2.7 million transactions, or billion.
Yeah, if you want to talk through anything while we're ramping up the load, but yeah, that's kind of what's happening now. It's just we're generating more and more traffic, try and scale up the entire process.
Roy, maybe you can talk about the regions and why we did the parameters that we did. I know there's a couple people in the community that mentioned the number of nodes and how that's historically relevant to other blockchains, but I know it's less relevant to us, and we've discussed it in Discord, but maybe it's important to kind of explain to everyone why that's the case.
Since this is a synthetic benchmark, we didn't request that our partners buy additional resources, since we're just going to be generating this traffic for a short time. So because we wanted this to be temporary, we moved things around to just where we had the most excess capacity within Google Cloud. So that's why we picked the regions. They're kind of arbitrary. They would affect latency in general, because you need to reach quorum from 2/3 plus 1 of the. So if the weight were more distributed, it wouldn't change our throughput. It would change our latency and reaching finality, just because I need to travel at the speed of light to
sorry
get
to
some votes from
interrupt,
far away
but
representatives.
those of
if
you
they happen
listening,
to be
if you are
required for
not
quorum.
DeFiing your
So the
NGA,
regions we picked were
you
kind of
are
arbitrary,
missing out.
and not like.
Those of us,
And we also the count for that was
for the past
just
couple of weeks,
enough to
we've
get us started
doubled and
and
tripled
show
our
that
bags. Our
there can be more representatives than one. It can distribute up and scale up and down.
So
in general, I think the
we
well-distributed system will probably have like 16 representatives that have enough to reach quorum. So it's not going to be a very significantly different number than we have now. Let's see how we're doing here. Up to
We're closing in on the million mark here.
Yeah, so we're just ramping up the load and generating more and more traffic. It's all of the transactions, because they're from separate accounts, are getting processed in parallel. They're getting split up into requests to the representatives for votes. Those requests go to Google Cloud run workers, and as more and more workers are needed, it's sort of similar to Kubernetes. It'll spin up more and more instances to handle the traffic, and then the traffic gets committed to the database backend, which is also done parallel. We're using Google database backend we want to do. So this combination of Google Cloud Run is modular and can support other configurations as well. We initially ran it in AWS using AWS Lambda and DynamoDB. We were able to work closely with Google and make this integration a lot more performant and handling a lot larger transactions as well.
And one thing I just wanted to kind of talk about is what people are seeing in the chart here exactly. So let me just scroll down a little bit here, try and include some of the stats. So the bottom chart there is our stats API. That's us actually reaching the server in real time, grabbing what is the latest counts.
Those of you on X,
the blocks, the transactions, and
join the chat.
The response time in the top right is the response time of the stats. So that's the chart that everyone sees on the bottom. And on the left is our blocks per second. Those are the blocks that are going across all the workers, as Roy spoke about, and the transactions are the operations within the block. Roy, do you want to talk about the block structure for this test?
Sure. I think the layout that we're using here is going to
be a third party
with 750 transactions per block and 1 block per vote staple. So that's kind of organized in a way to minimize the cost for this demonstration, but also to show the flexibility of how you can perform many different transactions in a single atomic unit of work. It would be equivalent to do 750 transactions in 750 blocks with 1 transaction per block, and getting votes on those 750 blocks at the same time. The same amount of database work would need to get done, except for some more blocks getting inserted, and the cost would just be a little bit higher because of verifying all of the additional digital signatures. But all of the blocks and all of the transactions and all the blocks in a vote staple are all done atomically. So that's sort of what the unit of work is a vote staple, and that contains
Victor,
an atomic transaction that can commit to the database backend.
One of the things I haven't really talked enough about, I mean, we've spoke about it a little bit, but is just the flexibility of our blocks. So the operations we're using today are just one of many things that you can do within a block. So you can create, for example, a new asset. You can send that asset. You can change permissions. You can do many different things within the same block. And so having many operations within a block, or within within a block, and then having many blocks within a staple, as Roy said, increases the efficiency of the system itself. And you can think about that from like a traditional like cryptocurrency exchange, where maybe they're processing withdrawals in batches. They can send transactions all in one block every second or something, instead of having to issue individual blocks, which just ultimately picks things up. Roy, we do have a lot of kind of jumping on the chart right now. Do you want to talk about why that is?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say why the jumping is happening in particular, because the traffic is being done by lots of different systems. They take some time to generate blocks and send them out, so sometimes they'll hit a lull.
So
some of it comes from the stats time creeping up. It's hard to see in the chart
area that we don't want to break down.
Some slower stats, but
really
the blue
a really strong line of
number indicates the back end time for fetching the stats. And so if that gets delayed, and then the chart will show a bunch of them happening all at the same time, but that's because it's fetching that data like at a delayed interval. So there's a couple of different reasons. One is the organic traffic, and the second is because it takes some time to fetch those stats, and as the load increases,
so Keeta is a
the time to fetch those statistics increases as well in some cases.
It's not a traditional linear blockchain. So that's what it allows for a lot of its scalability.
Also pretty normal. The back end needs to scale up in some cases as well. So there might be a time where some of the data happens to get delayed while waiting for the backend database to scale up as it needs to reach this very high rate of throughput with a bunch of like random data being put into it.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone remembers, but on our initial stress test video that we released on YouTube from 2022, Ryan, one of our engineers, was kind of explaining that in that as well. So you're seeing very similar reaction to the system, and that is the flexibility of the system, kind of scaling up and scaling down. It is very different than a traditional blockchain where you have one singular node that's just vertically scaling as a large instance. And so the reactive nature of ours is one of the unique properties that we have.
Fees accumulating.
And as part of that, obviously, it does take a little bit of time. I think, Roy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe some of the workers take around 200 to 500 milliseconds for Cloud Run to start kicking in. Is that correct?
I mean, it can vary because there's a lot of things that need to happen on startup. So, yeah, the amount of
I wouldn't worry too
startup
much,
time
man.
is
It's
probably closer to 5
the entire
seconds.
market. It's being manipulated right now.
Each worker is able to handle multiple requests, and then we're able to spin up a bunch of extra workers. But it does take some amount of time.
I believe because this isn't on the test net. This is on
just
the
that increases the latency, which then increases
I'm just
the way the stats are measured. But it's in an organic environment where you were just processing a steady state of transactions with a few bursts here and there. That's how things would happen anyway, and you might have some cases where things are delayed.
Exactly, Randall.
And in the back end, we're logging a lot of information about how long every part of the process takes, so we can look for
truck up on
any problems later on.
I sold a couple $1,000 of my wrapped ETH and bought on this dip because Plume dipped more than ETH, a lot more than ETH. So I saw it as an opportunity to rotate some ETH into Plume. And yes, KTA is a DAG.
Looks like we're closing in here on 6 million.
Yeah, I was just going to say we're about halfway through the amount of traffic we're generating. So our target is to generate 10 million transactions per second. So we can scale the system larger and larger and pay for that bandwidth and pay for different configurations. But for this particular test, we're just targeting 10 million.
Test net.
So we're about halfway with the amount of traffic we're going to generate for this test. And then once it reaches 10 million, it'll probably level off and stay there for a couple of minutes and then drop back down, just because we're not starting all of the work at the same time. So by the time some of the transaction or some of the sending parties, the sending clients get started, so the other ones will be ready to be finished just sending their predetermined number of blocks.
I'm seeing the network status. If you go to network status on their website, I'm seeing all the traffic.
Let's see. We also keep track of the latency. They're not, I guess, not displayed on this dashboard. But we do keep track of the latency for how long these transactions will take. So when this test is done, we're going to take a look at what
where
the
we hit 7
average
million.
request time is for votes.
Yes.
Average request time for publishing or adding to the ledger. And so we'll also have like the P50, P99, or P95 information from that. So we'll potentially display that information in the stats in the future, but I don't think that's published at the moment.
Yeah, I think we had it on the old dashboard, but I don't think we have it on this one.
We're at about 6 million TS now. So just going up. There's not a lot more to say about the process, I think, but this is just how scalable the Keeta network is. It's scalable in the same way other, large systems are. It's built off of all of the same web technologies that make, things like Google.com and Amazon.com able to handle your queries. And so there's a lot of work from everyone in the internet community that we're leveraging here to be able to achieve this. So it's
price is not reflecting well. We're at
it's
$1.19.
High scale infrastructure project.
That line of support I was talking about.
Lucky to be working with partners.
$1.17
and able to bring this out.
Yeah, one of the things
this is either a really good buy
I would like to do, Roy, is just highlight ChainSpect.
We're going to go lower.
They've been great at
that line,
adding support for Keeta early. Typically, the way that their system worked is they'd only added it for mainnet, and so they actually made some adjustments to add tagging on the network. So now they can add support for testnet as we have today. And then once we get to mainnet, we'll have the mainnet added there as well. It is worth noting that the testnet and mainnet, from a functionality perspective, are basically the same.
We've hit
so we won't really see much of a difference. The biggest difference is that in the testnet today, the Keeta team is paying for all the transactions, so we don't have fee blocks attached. But when we get to mainnet, we will be charging fees. Unfortunately, as much as I would love to subsidize the transactions, they would be a little too expensive. So we'll have the fee blocks added, and that's the main change when we go into mainnet. But it looks like we just hit 7.8 million. And it's bouncing a little around here. So
I'm showing a max of 9.12.
Hopefully here in a little bit, as we keep ramping up, we'll get closer towards that 10. But
yeah, 10 million is a lot of work for everything to do. So it just takes time to generate. It takes a significant amount of time just to generate the traffic.
Not showing any errors.
Roy, do we have, I don't know if we have the numbers on top of our head, but just I think it's worth explaining the magnitude of the data and the things that are occurring behind the scenes. I think that was one of the main things that we haven't really discussed, is just,
if you're watching on X, come over to YouTube.
Why it takes long to do one of these tests, and what is actually required from the database perspective, and from Cloud Run perspective.
Talk a little bit about
ultimately why we can't do it without the collaboration of the Google team. So I know some of you guys are watching. I appreciate you guys, all the work you've done to help us get here. But Roy, do you want to kind of highlight that?
Sure. Yeah. There's each block contains a bunch of transactions, and that's a lot of data that needs to then affect the accounts in the ledger on the database. So as the transactions come in, it needs to be able to do that work in parallel successfully and atomically, which is a significant amount of work, but yeah, there's a lot of technologies like in Google Cloud Spanner to handle the back end part of that, but also the Google Cloud Run, which is very similar to Kubernetes, allows you to split up the computing part. So as long as the process is parallelizable throughout the computing and the storage, and from the client's perspective end to end, then we're going to be able to increase the number of systems in the process of doing that. So this will put around 4 gigabytes per second of read and write combined throughput from each of the nodes representative, each of their Cloud Run instances, all of them combined, which there's, I think, about 20 to 30,000 at this point. Each of them is putting a combined read and write load of about 4 gigabytes per second into their respective databases. In this case, Google Cloud Spanner.
Roy, we just passed 10 million.
It's still going up. Like, the main thing to keep in mind is sort of the average line going through. There might be like a spike that goes through 10 million, but we want the average to be above it, just to smooth out any of the statistics. So it should go.
He's like, don't get excited.
Should keep going up for just a little bit longer, and then stay, have an average above 10 million.
I like this guy.
He's as the work continues on, it has to keep all of this data not only going to the database. The database has to keep it consistent and atomically adjusted. So that's quite a lot of work, right, to make sure that all the accounts are ordered and all of the constraints are validated every time. So yeah,
looks like we're
definitely a lot of engineering effort that's gone into everything that you see here.
Around 8 million.
One thing, and this is not really necessarily the format to just address everyone's claims, but one thing I did see this morning, Roy, on Reddit, someone made a comment about the fact that we're using centralized hardware or non-consumer hardware makes this endeavor easy. Obviously, you and I and the rest of the team know that that's not true, but I don't know if there's anything you wanted to talk about there, and the complexity as you just highlighted that actually got us here. It was a lot of work around coordinating not only just the data but also being able to. I think on the processing front, on the Cloud Run, there's a lot of things that we've had to do there that ultimately wouldn't be available on other networks. I think the stateless nature of our nodes is probably one of the more complicated things that people look over, and I'd like to highlight that.
Yeah, I mean, the difficulty is in the architecture, not this. I mean, there's a lot of difficulty in the implementation as well, but like the difficulty of ensuring that the system can scale while being consistent is in the architecture. So yeah, we definitely,
to give you a little bit of context,
put a lot of thought into making sure that the system is parallelizable end to end. That's why there's no mempools or other asynchronous things that require some centralized coordinator for each node. Right, each node would need some way to centrally manage that stuff, which makes it hard to be distributed internally. So yeah, we did put a lot of effort into thinking about how things would be done before doing them.
One thing I just wanted to highlight, we did see a pretty big spike on the stats there. That was some of the jumping we saw on the chart just a little bit ago. If anyone noticed that and was wondering what it was, but it looks to be kind of calmed back down. So we're hovering here, around the 10 million mark. We're going over it a little bit, and as we scale up.
A little bit. We're back up to $1.30.
Roy, do you know from a percentage wise how close we are here?
Yeah, I think we're about at our target. So it should start to hover around 10 million, give or take, right now. So that's what we're aiming for. So it should just continuously stay here around 10 million for a little bit and then start to drop down. Yeah, one of the difficult things is in measuring the throughput at this rate. So that's why it's a little also that contributes to the noise. Is how do you actually construct a fast enough counting system that as you're doing 10 million things from 30,000 systems in parallel.
I hope you're in the rapid fucking KTA
that rate. So the statistics are.
I just made freaking about 30 or 40
doing
bucks
the work of maintaining the statistics.
Like minute or two
also takes work.
$120 bucks. I was at $80 when
everything involved has an accounting associated with it, and that goes into the cost per
pool.
transaction. And so the efficiency of the process overall leads to lower cost per transaction.
Liquidity pools.
I must say I'm a lot happier right now than what I was 30 minutes ago. I was definitely nervous, but just want to say congratulations to everyone on the team, and thank you for all the work you guys have done and the long nights leading up to this. This is really one of the largest moments in the company's history, and I'm glad that we get to share it with the community now. But
it's a Uniswap pool.
I know that everyone has put a lot of time into this, and we should all cherish this moment with everyone in the community. So thank you all, Roy and the rest of the team. I know there's some people on the Zoom call here. I don't know if you want to say anything, but if you do, feel free.
Kind of stabilized at around the 10 million range TPS.
I mean, yeah, like we. Primarily me and Ty speak during public events, but there's lots of people on the team working tirelessly, especially lately, to make sure that we're able to meet all of the things we have with the community and with our partners. So
down at $1.30.
It's a lot of work just to make sure that everybody is able to deliver everything. Yeah, one thing to note about the statistics is because you're looking at snapshots of the time. What you see on your view of the Explorer may be different.
Yeah, I'll show my pool.
What somebody else sees, so they're looking at a different snapshot.
Actually, I've made like 30.
Roy, do you want to just highlight real quickly the issue behind the Block Explorer? I know there were some concerns earlier this week with it
again
being down
$400,
or being intermittent, I guess. Do you want to just highlight why that was and how it was not related to the network?
Yeah, the Explorer was having problems earlier because of
almost 11
some
million
internal networking issues we were having with the way that the back end of the Explorer, which talks to the network, was configured. So it was using something called network address translation, and the system it was going through just didn't have enough resources to handle all of the stats requests that the Explorer was doing, other kinds of things. But so it was just running out of resources trying to connect to the network behind the scenes. So we re-architected that so we wasn't using the network address translation, and
use
a lot happier after that.
Alts that have good pools, and use your use your alts to earn.
Amazing. Looks like we might have jumped over to 12
on Uniswap. If you enter
briefly
a pool
here
with
like
things
ETH, are still bouncing
then
around.
You earn more ETH.
our response time on the stats is also
do like an ETH
quite high right
USDC
now. The
pair
system's
or something like that.
Definitely dealing with a lot of
And
throughput.
you
So
earn both stable
Yeah.
coin and
Yeah, we're reaching
more
about
ETH.
what we've configured as the maximum rate for this test. So there's different
That's what I've done with
bottlenecks.
all my
The
bags. That's what
Spanner,
I've like
Google
doubled
Cloud Spanner as our
my bag.
database is one, but we're also using Redis for statistics and things like that. And
$1,500 worth of plume and
so
over
we
5,000.
configured enough resources to hit about 10 million TPS, and we're where statistics are stored. That
$3,000
includes
of
the
KTA.
Redis configuration,
$6,000 in just the past couple
and
weeks.
we're reaching about 100% of the Redis configuration right now. So stats are going to go up, but also, because we use Redis for other things, we're going to be decreasing the amount of transactions to kind of reach equilibrium around 10 million. And then stats will go obviously down as things settle in.
Yeah, I can't stress enough DeFi, the power of DeFi to just earn residual income and to stack your bags. I wish I would have started. I wish I would have started a long time ago. I was just scared off by these specters of impermanent loss and divergence loss and stuff like that. Once you learn about them, it's not that big of a deal. It's like
And
basically it's just
we are just about at 30,000 Cloud Run workers. So there's 4 rep for the representatives involved. So each one is doing some amount of 1/30,000th of the work of this test, and then there's 4 nodes, so that's multiplied by 4. So it's quite a lot of compute power and engineering effort that's backing this up. But here we are, around 10 million TPS as expected.
Roy, do you want?
Should start to peter off here, and then should start to go down in just a couple of minutes.
Roy, do you want to just highlight the importance of 10 million? I know I've spoke about it a lot extensively, but why we wanted to get to this number and how it translates to, I think most people are aware, but how it translates to blockchain in the history of distributed systems like this.
Yeah, so Keeta's goal is to be able to power all of global finance, and 10 million is a nice round number that kind of aligns with that goal of 10 million transactions per second is certainly more than happens globally right now. We wanted to make sure that we were able to scale up linearly to not just 1,000 transactions per second, and then you're stuck and not able to grow the system more, which could limit the usefulness of the system in the future. Not just 10,000, not just 100,000, but basically no limit. And so 10 million is kind of what we settled on as a benchmark for verifying that we can scale linearly. So if we can do 10 million, we can do 100 million or a billion transactions per second if we're willing to put in the work and the effort to pay for this be necessary. So that's something we definitely like put into how we thought about this and how we thought about what our benchmark number should be.
Yeah, the one thing I just want to highlight or reiterate is that the system from an architecture standpoint and implementation standpoint, although the implementation, to be clear, might need some improvements as we get up, but from architecture standpoint, it's entirely unbounded. So, as Roy said, the amount of hardware and the cost is the only limitation, and in this particular scenario, obviously we wanted to hit 10, but if we wanted to pay for it, we could certainly do significantly more, and like I said, from the implementation standpoint, we might need to do some testing to scale up. At 100 million TPS, do we hit a couple bottlenecks that maybe we didn't at 10? But overall, we've built, methodically to scale with the resources available. We have a couple of things that we've worked on internally in the past that kind of works around some of the hardware and how we can create those larger systems. But right now, obviously, we're working with Google Cloud, so everything's hosted on Google Cloud. But we can also run things on your own hardware. If you had like a Kubernetes setup on your own hardware as an FI, you can have very similar results, and you can participate in the system. It is also worth noting that this is a little bit of a difference from other networks where they run on smaller hardware, maybe hosted at your home or things like that. As Roy highlighted earlier, the sheer data throughput just is not feasible to be on a residential connection. So we do need a larger kind of hosting setup. That doesn't necessarily mean that you can't be decentralized. You can still host your hardware wherever you would like, and the ownership of the decentralization, I think, is what's really important there. But yeah, it's definitely a little bit more of a beast to operate than the normal blockchain nodes.
Yeah, I mean, you could still run a network, entirely off of consumer hardware. It would just be limited to those resources. So whatever resources you have, they can be used. You could run the node on your phone if you wanted to, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a good idea, and probably people wouldn't want that to be their representative on the network.
On our network, it is worth noting, since I know the centralization point is something that's brought up a lot with regards to Keeta. We are going to have certificates attached on chain for all the reps, so you will know who's going to be operating that rep, and I think that is one of the many attributes where we can kind of counter the decentralization point. We can be equally, if not more, decentralized from an ownership perspective than other networks. A lot of networks operate on kind of cloud hosting. Ethereum, for example, is predominantly AWS behind the scenes. Bitcoin's obviously geographically centralized based on the manufacturers of the miners. So there's a lot that goes into the decentralization, but I think we've been pretty thoughtful about striking a balance in from a product standpoint of what is required in the industry and what's still practical. So I'm very, very proud of the work we've done on this front.
Looks like this might be a good test. We'll see how the crypto community reacts to it.
Like I mentioned earlier, things are going to start to level off and come back down right now. So we're just sort of in a holding pattern as more and more
so far on the
blocks
screen.
and more transactions get generated.
$50.
I think we've done more transactions today than most networks will ever do in their lifetime.
Wrapped ETH liquidity pool.
We're at almost 18 billion transactions on just past 18 billion on the test network.
$500 day. It's not bad.
Roy, we've done more per second than some networks.
Roughly 20% in their ROI, per day. Making 20% a day on an investment. I'll take it.
I will say, though, with that said, even though obviously our TPS and our throughput and our performance are very impressive, and it's kind of the leading topic of Keeta, while everyone's here, it is also worth noting that there are many other features that I think are probably equally, if not more important, than the throughput. such as built-in compliance
yes,
with KYC certificates. We have very
all about speed.
Extensive permissioning system. Things like joint accounts can exist, or delegated access to accounts. There's different transaction rules you can set on when you create a token, such as what accounts do you want to allow or not allow. Do you want the token to be sent to only people of a specific certificate or a specific attribute within a certificate? There's a lot that you can do, and I think one of the things that I speak to quite often privately is the use case around Swift. When there's a global or geopolitical conflict, those networks are usually very binary. They say, okay, we're going to take this action, we're going to cut you off completely. And that's the public statement. And then behind the scenes, they kind of have to pull that back a little bit because they still need to transact in specific use cases. And so Keeta is built for that use case specifically, where we can, come together as a community. Obviously, if it's decentralized and there's not enough quorum, then it doesn't happen. But from a specific token, let's say a digital dollar, the issuer of the digital dollar can say, I only want this dollar to be used for these particular purposes with these accounts.
Got over 200
and
people
you have
watching live.
That control. So you don't need the binary action of just cutting someone off from a system entirely.
X too, but
so it's not just our throughput, but all the functionality and all of the thoughts that we put in from a product standpoint to make this actually a practical option, and likely what I believe is the only option as of today to handle the CBDCs and the tokenization of real world assets and global finance. So I appreciate everyone here witnessing this. Roy, we've got about 1,500 people. I think we had over 2,000 a little bit ago. So we definitely have quite a few people watching this in real time. And I thank everyone for being here.
Yeah. Well, so on the backend database, we're up to 5.4 terabytes of data now stored from this test.
Damn.
Before we started, we had on the test network about 800 gigabytes. We've done about 5 terabytes of ledger stored data.
Like, follow, and share.
Larger than
it helps
what's
a lot.
Transmitted, but
me and Jeff, we do this channel 100%
compressed
free.
in that
we don't
as
make any money.
less
we don't
denormalization applied, so the ledger needs to
don't ask for membership.
Denormalize things a little bit to be able to quickly
help support
access things. So in the back end now, we're storing an additional basically 4.5 to 5 terabytes so far.
Roy, I just wanted to show you one thing. I still have the original sketchbook that we purchased at Target in 2022 with our ideas on the system. And one of the things that I look at a lot on here that you drew is, if I can pull it up, is around our checkpoints. I don't know if it would go on camera or not. Yeah, it's hard to, with my background, it's hard to have it on camera. But we have a checkpoint system and a pruning system that kind of address the large amount of data that you just highlighted. I know that's not in production or on testnet or anything today, but can you talk about why that is important?
Yeah, so representatives need to charge people at the time of transaction for the ledgering of that transaction essentially forever. But it's not really like a computable cost. So
price
for many cases, it's possible to get rid of
over 10 million
on the representative side to get rid of older data because you can always re-verify it later as long as you have the hash of the as long as you have the hash of the head block
is 16.6 is what I'm showing.
It's possible to sort of reduce the amount of data stored over time in many cases by by offloading that work of storage to historical nodes. They don't need to be as performant. They just need to store data. So we can kind of bifurcate how the system works, so that there's the storage nodes are the archival nodes are doing the archiving at whatever rate that they can, but the representatives are keeping track of the live data as fast as they can, and so that allows us to reduce the cost even further of transactions, because the representatives aren't having to pay for storing every transaction forever on every representative, as long as they can
you believe
get that data from a validator node, they can know that they've already
scalable as it is,
processed it,
it
and they
can get faster
because it's a block, because it's a chain. They can know that they already
good thing
have access to that data and don't need to do a bunch of work to revalidate it. So as as time goes on, they don't have to pay for the storage cost redundantly. That can be something centrally managed on the network, or as a function of users who have storage instead of compute.
One thing not to interrupt you, one thing I just also see here that we should highlight are the different kinds of nodes that you can, or the different modes that you can put the node in, rather. So as you said, the reps can go into kind of a voting only mode, which would be, is it head +1 or is it just head block? I think it's head +1, right?
I mean, it's not implemented right now, so that's not decided, but it can be a lot of different options. You could store as little or as much as you want, as long as you have a way to verify it. You could run a node that only has the accounts you care about data.
Right? Yeah, such as an exchange.
An archive. Yeah. Or you could run an archival node, or you could have it vary depending on whatever your particular needs are for that kind of node. So an archival node would keep track of every block forever, but it's going to be doing that as fast as it can and as fast as it can verify. So it may not always be the most up to date. So if you're not running an archival node, you may say, hey, I want to keep the last 10 blocks, and then because I trust the archival node will be relatively up to date, or I want to keep 100 blocks because the archival nodes that I know about are generally behind, and you're able to do that. And if you don't have some blocks, you can reach out to other participants on the network as well and request them and see if they have them. So other representatives might have different configurations, or other nodes might have them. So as you're working on maintain, if you did want a historical block for some reason, you would configure that based on whatever your particular needs are for this node that you're running. And then representatives, the main thing that they care about is their votes, and the votes they issued, as well as not issuing competing votes. So they need to maintain pretty much what the head blocks are, so that they can ensure that they're doing that. So the cost of creating a new account may be different than the cost of
down to $1.21.
Adding new blocks to an existing account.
People aren't sure what to do.
You ultimately have a certain amount of data that you have to preserve as a representative for every new account. So establishing an account, and because the representatives can charge whatever fees they want for the blocks that are the operations that are in the blocks they receive. So they can, if you're doing something that's going to cost them more, like opening a new account, they can charge you more to make up for that, knowing that they're going to have to pay a fixed cost for the lifetime of that ledger. Let's see. Let's check on.
Oh, I was just muted. Sorry. What I was going to say is, as we see here, we're definitely hovering around the 10 million plus mark. We've gone up to 12 a couple of times, 14 we had a jump, but well beyond 10 as an average. and yeah, this is very very good moment for us right now. So I'm trying to not celebrate too much, but I'm definitely very happy right now. So thank you guys, everyone on the team that put the work in here to make this happen.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's anything else we want to go over, but
I think that's it. I
but,
think we've covered most of things. I don't know if there's anything you want to necessarily talk about, but I just want to remind everyone that is here. You can join our Discord, and that's where we try and answer as many questions as we can. Obviously, we have multiple different things going on at the same time, so sometimes it takes long. Our moderation team and the rest of the community will also try and help and answer any questions.
With
but
the
we also do Twitter Spaces every Wednesday. Sometimes
I got
we
kicked out,
we have to skip if I'm
they let me
traveling or
back
something, but
It's
try and do it
I
every Wednesday
appreciate all of you in
at
there.
the same time as this.
Yeah, they're kinda they can get kinda touchy sometimes.
And you can go and answer questions or ask questions there as well. So yeah, I appreciate everyone here. And Roy, I don't know
They're
if
just
there's
looking
anything
out
you
for the
want
community, though.
to talk about before we wrap it up here, but we're coming up on the hour.
no, I think that's it. I think the target was 10 million. We provisioned the resources for doing a little bit over 10 million.
It had
And
nothing to
that's
do with
kind
me
of
being
what we see
paid.
as we
I was
approach our
I just
configured resource
posted some
limits.
stuff in there, and they were
That's where
thinking that was like
the
a scam
sync
or something
side
like
starts
that.
to
Somebody vouched for me, though.
run out and self-regulate down into the amount of resources the network has been given. If we wanted to give it more resources and pay for that in the future for some reason, we could also do that. Like that, I think that's sort of the goal here, is to demonstrate that we can scale up to meet the demands of all of global finance today, tomorrow, and next year.
Amazing. With that, we're going to close this off. I will also say, please follow us on X, Keeta Network.
Go ahead and stick
That's
around.
where we
I'm gonna
post a lot of our
sign off
updates as well.
after this.
Gabe does
Talk
a lot of
talk a little bit of Plume,
threads in depth about the different attributes on our system. So some of the documentation there is also really helpful if you go there and kind of read. We also have docs.keeta.com, which currently is a little high level. We're working to expand that. Mark and Gabe and the rest of the team are working to expand that to include some developer documentation, and it'll be eventually more in depth to kind of explain each concept from both start the conceptual point and then work down into how do you practically interact from a developer perspective. So we're working on a lot of things behind the scenes, and yeah, I'm excited to just keep executing on our vision and keep delivering for the community. So thank you all. This is where we'll wrap it up. If you guys are watching,
let's go ahead and shut this down. All right. So those of you that aren't, this is our channel over on YouTube. We talk about Keeta. You can see down here, we did a deep dive about, it looks like about 9-10 days ago. We did a deep dive on Keeta. And about 2 weeks ago, we did our first deep dive on Keeta. And so the first one was, obviously, everything to do with Keeta. The second one had to do more with the liquidity pools that I was just talking about, where I've doubled, tripled, my Keeta bag just off of providing KTA and wrapped ETH. And actually, here I'll show it real quick. So this is my Keeta pools. I've peeled some off into my wallet, but I have this pool that's about $2,400 worth of liquidity, and just since we went live, I've earned $60. So this was actually no, I've earned $70 because this was at $80 when the stream started, and now I'm at $150. So I have this one down here as well. I only have $500 in that one, It's one that I just had open, a little bit longer. But on that one, I've made $31. Just in the past about probably 12 hours, I've made that. So earning 2,271% APR on my wrapped ETH KTA pool. There was one day when I was down in LA, just a couple days ago, when I was flying back. In 24 hours on this $2,400, I made 500. I came in here the morning after I got up. I got home about 3 a.m. So I was wrecked and went to sleep. Woke up in the morning and I had $500 in there. That was I made $500. I made a 20% in one day. I made a 20% ROI off of just providing liquidity. I have made a ton of money with this. And Plume before this. So yeah, if you're not using liquidity pools to stack your bags with free crypto, everyone's always complaining that they don't have dry powder, to buy dips and things like that. Liquidity pools, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, you can earn yield. And that yield is people paying fees to swap because they can't get KTA on a lot of these exchanges, so they have to swap for it. And when they swap for it, they pay a small fee. And for providing liquidity, you earn a portion of that fee depending on the amount of the liquidity pool that you provide. And so it's just constantly ticking, while you're at your regular job, while you're doing housework, while you're at the gym, whatever you're doing, while you're sleeping, you're making money. I mean, what better way? And it doesn't matter. The markets can be going down, they can be going sideways, and they can be going up. You are always earning. Whereas, people that are hodling, they only make money if it goes up. That's it. They're just hoping the price will go up. The price can be going down, and you can be making money in liquidity pools or in lending. So anyway, enough about that. So, what are the markets doing right now? And I'll give a little bit of Keeta Alpha. So this is what we're doing on Keeta price right now. We're at a $1.23. This candle back here, we spiked up to about a $1.55 during that test, and went as low as a $1.16. So a lot of volatility in the past hour. I am expecting, and I'm not a chart guy. Anybody that watches me knows that I know enough about TA to know how to find the lines of support and resistance so that I can select my liquidity pool ranges. That's kind of where my expertise on TA, begins and ends. So, you can see, and the reason I was saying around 17 cents is you can see that back here, we were coming up, bouncing off, coming up, bouncing off, coming up, here again, wicked up, bounced off. Here we broke through, came down, and bounced off of here, used it as support again, wicked down, but came back up, and just been bouncing along this line. So here, I'll actually put a line in there so you can kind of see better what I'm talking about. So right about, I'd put it right about here. So you can see, that's what I was talking about. It's coming up, it's bouncing, it's coming up, it's bouncing, breaks through, flips to support, can, it, I'm drawing a blank on the word I'm looking for, confirms the, this is support, comes down again, bounces, come down again, bounces, comes down again, bounces, and we're just kind of hanging out here. So I want to see us at a $1.18, $1.17, $1.18. I want to see us hold that support. With this successful test, it's I see positive things. Me personally, I'm not buying any more. Keeta. I already have a good bag, and again, I have these liquidity pools. Where I'm earning free. I mean, just in the past day, I've earned $200 just off these two liquidity pools. So, you're looking at about $2,800 worth of liquidity. I've bankrolled $200 in the past 24 hours. And again, that is getting paid out. If I expand this, it's getting paid out in both wrapped ETH. So I have $76.86, in the swap fees of wrapped ETH, and I have $74.30 or 60.7 Keeta, and it just ticked up $75 now. So this is just printing me money. I mean, this is better than mining. This is better than a lot of other ways that people earn. With a miner, you have to buy the expensive miner. You have to plug it in and have a lot of them are 220 or 240. So you and then you have the heating and cooling issues and uptimes and the technical know-how to set them up and to maintain them. This I just connect my wallet to VFAT or another DEX. I deposit liquidity and sit back and I just earn. It's really that simple. And I'm not a super technical dude. I'm not one of these guys that understands high level macroeconomics. I'm obviously not a TA guy. I am an old vet, retired military veteran that homesteads in the woods. I built my own, lived in a tent, built my own cabin. And I've spent the past couple of years since the last into the last bull market learning about crypto. And for the past 7, 8 months, I've been learning about DeFi and been sharing my experience. And a bunch of people in the community are, are basically, doing the same, in our Discord. We all share, the good pools that we find, and we're all making money. Blaine Ellis, is there a video on your channel with a breakdown of how to do this? Absolutely. If you are interested, here you go. I started a DeFi Academy. If you know nothing about DeFi, you can start out with episode 1. At the end of it, there's an end frame, and it will automatically take you to episode 2, episode 3, episode 4, all the way to episode 7 that I've done so far. And it just starts out, DeFi explained. Be the bank and keep the profits. That's all you are. You are providing liquidity. People are paying fees to use your liquidity. That's how you earn. But I break down exactly what DeFi is and how it works. Second one is hot and cold wallets, which is what you're going to need to use to interact and to put liquidity on these DEXs or decentralized exchanges. Then I go into my toolbox, which is the different tools like DeFi Llama. Um, that's this tool right here that has all kinds of analytics on volume, like what liquidity pools have the most. And I apologize if this seems like high level stuff. If you're new to this, but I explain all this. The tools that I use. What else we got here? DeFi aggregators like VFAT. So this that I was just showing, this is a DeFi aggregator. It just allows you access to multiple platforms, so you don't have to go to individual dexes and search through them. This saves you a lot of time, and it's a lot more user friendly. What else we got? Aerodrome Finance. I did an in-depth walkthrough on Aerodrome, with locks and how they earn and the free airdrop. It's called Flight School. It's a bonus you get. All the details of that. Yield farming. Using VFAT. So a walkthrough of how VFAT works, and then I just got done doing one that talks about full range and ranged liquidity pools. The difference between the two. So all kinds of good knowledge there. And then of course, we have our regular episodes that we do all throughout the week that you're more than welcome to watch. So I hope that helps. Yeah. No, yeah, the price dropped right after the test. You know what? Buy the rumor, sell the news, I guess. Me personally, I see it as successful. I would love to see a third party comment on and really, some people, some techie people really dig in and verify the data, because that just kind of seemed like it was the Keeta team that was, doing this and just putting the stats up off the website, that was up. This one here. So this basically kind of, was what I was following during that live stream. And so, I mean, to be 100% real, they could potentially manipulate this, and that's kind of what the some of the people that were fudding, if you want to call it that, were saying is that some of the data on the last one looked manipulated. So I would really love to see some sleuths, some Keeta Explorer sleuths get into this and uh, and verify that they actually did, hit that, 16 million TPS. So anyway, what else we got going on? Oh, here we go. Let's go over this real quick. So this was a really good post by this Micro. Actually, I'm going to follow him. Did a radar review. Keeta is a blockchain system built from the ground up, so it's a layer one. Layer one. It's not built on ETH or anything like that. Today, I'm breaking down the key components of Keeta Network that matter for the project's success to uncover its strengths and weaknesses. So the component scores: technology, 100%. I would agree with that. Tokenomics, 50%. I would agree with that too. There's been some talk about the tokenomics. The community, 81%. Very, very strong community. I would agree with that. Narrative, 94%. Agreed. Team, 71. Agreed. Fully doxed. Good track record. I would even say maybe a little more than 71%. Partnerships, 35. Again, agreed. They're still in test net. So, it's, there's they're just at the beginning stages. But I haven't seen a ton of partnership news. But again, it's I'm not a Keeta expert. I'm always learning. And adoption, 10%. And I would agree with that too, because they're just in testnet. So, they're not going to have, a ton of people, yet. However, Plume, they just went live. They had over 180 people that were building on them, before they even went live. So, um, again, just, trying to be real with this. Keep in mind that the point of this format is not to rank a project. It is to give a summary score like an Investometer format, but to highlight a project's strengths and weaknesses. Therefore, this format applies a very strict scoring system in order to reveal where a project truly shines. So let's see where Keeta shines and where it could grow. The strengths: highest TPS. We just watched that. If it checks out, they reached 16 million TPS, and their architecture allows for a high level of scalability. It's modular, it's a DAG, high level scalability. Just like DAG, Constellation DAG. First blockchain credit bureau built in tokenization, Swift and ACH integration, which is huge. Swift is the messaging system that's currently used by banks for international payments, cross-border payments, things like that. And ACH, that is, things like direct deposit, things like, for paychecks, that kind of thing. Long vesting schedules, 24 to 48 months. That means all the initial investors. This is, goes into tokenomics. A lot of the initial VC investors and things like that. Whenever you own like shares in a company, or in this case, they were awarded tokens for investing, as whatever that looks like, then there's a vesting schedule. So they can't actually take possession of those tokens and sell those until they vest. It's again, just that's the term that's used, and it's a 24 to 48 month vesting schedule. So that's a 2 to 4 year, vesting schedule, which is great. That means that they can't dump, on on the community. Lots of big accounts supporting it. Fits the hype narrative. RWAs. I don't think it's hype. I mean, RWAs, real world asset tokenization, is a very real thing. Eric Schmidt, ex Google CEO, is backing it. Very, very strong backing, and reputable and doxed US based team. This is very bullish. Not just because they're fully doxed and in the US, but because this administration, love Trump or hate him, is very pro crypto. And on top of that, but there is talks of it and a lot of incentives by this administration because they want the innovation to be onshore, here in the US. They want the US to be a center of innovation for blockchain technology. So that is what governments do. State governments and federal governments. They incentivize companies with tax incentives, and things like that to build and grow, you know, here in the US and in, different states. Texas did it to incentivize Tesla to come to Texas. A lot of tech companies moved to Utah. There's a place called Silicon Slopes that's just south of Salt Lake. Microsoft, Adobe, a bunch of companies moved there because in California they were getting taxed to death. It's like, why have your company in a place that's going to rape you on taxes when you can go to some place where they're going to tax you less or not at all because you're bringing jobs. You're bringing a lot of basically liquidity, to the state where people are going to buy homes and they're going to buy groceries and they're going to pay taxes and all those different things. So anyway, weaknesses, they are still in testnet or unproven. That is what they were just trying to do with that, with that live demonstration. They were trying to show that the claims, because until they go live with mainnet and they have projects, or that are built, or dApps that are built on their chain, that are actively using the mainnet, it's all, it's trust us. It really is what it is. That's, with Plume. Before Plume went live, they were saying all these people were building on them and that, all this stuff was going to be going live. It really was just a trust me, bro. And they went live and they have a bunch of stuff that was built on Plume and it's ramping up, TVL, as we speak. A lot of the dexes and stuff like that, they're live, but they're building up that TVL because they need that liquidity for the dexes to be able to operate properly. So, still, they're still, going live. They're still rolling out, these different projects. Um, so yeah, no real adoption yet. Only 50% of supply to community. Conclusion. So Keeta basically has all around amazing fundamentals and great potential, but it is yet to prove anything or get notable adoption or partnerships, as it just launched. Perhaps today's live stream will help in that department to at least validate the tech side of things early on. Opinion. I don't think Keeta's run is over yet. I think it will climb to the top 50. If they can meet or exceed what they are advertising as far as their capabilities, I very much see Keeta do doing a lot more than it already has price wise. So I mean, we can go check. Keto right now, let's refresh this. It's sitting at number 212 by market cap. We are sitting at $1.19, and we've gone as high as about $1.70 is about as high as we've gone so far. But just as recently, I mean, we're down at 13 cents. May 6th is when we started to run up. I think it's about in here. It was about 70 cents, like 60, 70 cents, where this channel first noticed it, and we started doing we did our deep dives on it. TJ over at Discover Crypto, he mentioned it as an exciting RWA play that that he noticed, and we are the DeFi the DeFi arm of Discover Crypto. We're the official DeFi and airdrops channel for Discover Crypto. And those of you that don't know, so I started diving into it because obviously I love DeFi, I love RWAs, it's my wheelhouse, and loved what I saw. And so, we, like I said, we did a deep dive on it. I jumped into the liquidity pools and tested out the liquidity pools. Let's see where they're at currently. So yeah, um, I've made $80 off of almost $82 since we went live. So an hour and 21 minutes. I've doubled what I've earned. So yeah, no, not too bad. I'm about to hit $200 in the past 24 hours. So I am not unhappy with that. All right, back to let's actually take a look real quick. I know most of you are here for Keeta, but bear with me. Plume. Plume is another one that we saw very early on. My co-host Jeff, he is huge into airdrops and was watching Plume for a long time and brought it up to me. And so we started talking about this months and months and months ago. Back when Plume was not on anybody's radar really. And we got into the liquidity pools. And just like these Keeta pools, I turned $1,500 into over $5,000 just by using liquidity pools. I didn't inject any more of my own money into them. Same thing with Keeta. Like I said, I started out with $800 and saw how much I was making, and so I injected like another $2,500. I cashed out, some another crypto that I had, some of it, and put that liquidity into Keeta. So roughly like 3,000, 3,500, and I have about 6,000, $6,000 worth of Keeta now, at current value. And like as you saw, I'm earning a couple $100 a day, just in free wrapped ETH and Keeta, and I'm expecting ETH to pump, here pretty soon. The next stage of the bull market. So I'm just stacking free crypto. I have not spent a single dollar of my own money on crypto since I started DeFi like 7, 8 months ago. Not a single dollar. And I've doubled or tripled my DeFi portfolio. I started out with 15 grand and I'm sitting at about 30 grand right now in my DeFi portfolio. And that's at current values. So, if we get back up to where Aerodrome is at $2.20 and some of the other alts that I've been stacking, while everything dumped and has been going sideways. I did the math a couple of weeks ago. I need to update it. But when I did the math a couple of weeks ago before Keeta, I was looking at 80 grand. So my 15 grand turning it into 80 grand. Now I'm probably looking more at 100 grand. So not too bad, in 6 months, turn 15 grand into 100 grand. And again, I'm not just hodling. I'm not just waiting for, price appreciation. I'm making money 24/7, 365. So Plume, as you can see, Plume has been building. This is DeFi Llama. If you're into DeFi, I highly suggest that you bookmark this tool. It is by far the best tool for DeFi. If you can't find it here, it doesn't exist. What up, Granny's Garden? I hope you're doing great, beautiful. Yes, Jay-Z, got to learn some DeFi. Yeah, I read the chat. Yeah, it's sorry. I get, kind of rambling. I get excited about DeFi and I go deep. So, all right, let's go through the chat real quick. Sorry about that. Ellie, we were just watching the live stream on Keeta. It appears that it was successful. They hit 10 million TPS. The goal was 10 million. So, bullish so far for Keeta. A lot of fees, absolutely. They have more fun there. Not sure where there is. Yeah, 2K APR. I've seen it as high as 4,000. So, Wispy, I'm taking my earnings in both wrapped ETH and KTA. So you can do that in on VFAT. I'll show you. So if I want to harvest my fees, I can go here and select wrapped ETH and KT. Oh, sorry. So if basically you go here, select the pool that you want to harvest, come over here to the sidebar, hit harvest, and then do this drop down, and you can select the two assets. So in this case, it's wrapped ETH and KTA. And so I'll take it in both because I'm fully expecting ETH to pump any day now, and I'm bullish on KTA. So looks like Pavo is taking in just KTA. Let's see. Price drop right after the test. Yeah, people are weird, man. It's people are weird, but like I said, I'm earning, so I'm basically buying the dip. Not too worried about it. Does VFAT show the current volume? I only see TVL. Not usually. Um, for volumes, you need to go to Dex Screener. So you can go to Dex Screener. It's kind of like let's see. It's kind of like TradingView, but it's for liquidity pairs. So you can copy and paste. I'll see if I can just do this real quick. Dex Screener's kind of slow sometimes coming up. So let's go to here real quick. So this, I'm going to give you like a quick tutorial. So if you're wanting to look up a liquidity pair, so like wrapped ETH KTA, you come here, you can do the drop down. You have the contract address for this pool. Click on it, it copies it. You come over here to Dex Screener, click over here in the search, paste that address up here, and you can see it comes up. It's on Base Network, on Uniswap, KTA wrapped ETH. Click on it, it will bring up the chart, and this is the chart. And and it shows basically what it's doing. And this is what I use to find my ranges. Again, I look for lines of support and resistance. I usually like longer time frames, like 1 hour to 4 hour. But basically what you can do is you can find these ranges. There's one, here's one here, here's another one up here. So you can find ranges. That, and because usually price respects these ranges, but you can look at the volumes. So over here on the side, you have all the different analytics that you can look at, and then across the bottom here, you can also see the volumes. So you can see when we took this dip, a ways ago. Let's go to the 1 hour. So again, it doesn't matter. When I switch these time frames, it still it respects these levels. But you can see this is the volume profile here on the bottom, and this will give you an idea of the volumes. So hope that helps. Look on ChainSpect. Haven't heard of that. Oh, let me take a look real quick. Bear with me. ChainSpect TPS. All right, all right. Here it is. Launch dashboard. Oh, here we go. So, I mean, this looks to be a third party. Appreciate it, Scamza. Let's see. So, Keeta, this is new. Keeta is a test net. Real-time TPS, 6.2 million. Max theoretical TPS, 10 million. Max TPS looks like this is saying 11.1. I saw it hit 16. It spiked to 16. So I mean, according to this, I mean, if we go off of this, then yeah, I mean, this potentially could be considered a third party verification. So there's that. Let's see. This is the KTA wrapped ETH pair. All right, so let's hit up Plume a little bit. So Plume, let's see what we got. Let's go over to, because I really want to show this. This is super super sexy. I freaking So if you go to Plume's website, you can enter their portal, and Plume has over 180 different different institutions that are building on it, and they have very strong partnerships. They have like Ondo. Ondo is one of their partners. Let's actually go here and go to the ecosystem. So you can go through here if you want. I won't go through all of them, but this is all the different projects. So you can do RWA DeFi, infrastructure, social, and Nexus. But one thing that is really cool is this ARC. And they built this out for the tokenization of real world assets. Basically, what it's going to allow is in a matter of minutes, you can take anything like art, stocks, bonds, treasuries, private credit, real estate, anything, gold, silver. I have my brother. He's wanting to tokenize real estate. He owns a title company. He's wanting to tokenize real estate on this. My cousin, he owns a shipping company. With his brother, my other cousin. They own a shipping company where they have like the giant shipping containers that take them across the ocean and stuff like that. They're wanting to tokenize their vessels so that they can make that value liquid. It's the one ship they're wanting to start with is a $4 million ship. They're wanting to tokenize it so people can buy the token, and then they can use that liquidity to buy another ship and rinse and repeat. So, tokenization of real world assets is going to be huge to make illiquid assets liquid. Keeta plays into this, and so does Plume. Ondo, a lot of different projects out there. But, Keeta, what I like about Keeta and Plume is they natively built on chain. They have, drawn a blank. Compliance. So, which has to be included. If you do not have native compliance or compliance capable chain for RWAs and for anything to do with DeFi or TradFi, it is not going to be used. Plain and simple. If it cannot comply with regulatory guidance, with laws and regulations, it is not going to be used. Big institutions and banks are not going to be are not. I mean, they're going to get fined to death if they don't have compliance, built on chain. And these projects that are built on chain are automated processes. That is the appeal. Is it takes out intermediaries. It takes out the manual processes, the time consuming and expensive manual processes to do a lot of these things. Stocks and bonds and all of those different things. So that automation has to, because that's why they have those intermediaries. That's why they have these manual processes, is to ensure that it is compliant. That the person that is in Europe that's buying a stock from the U.S. stock market, it that they're legally able to do so. The compliance piece of these need to ensure, and it needs to be like real time upgradable. So if a new law is passed, it has to be able to be modular to where they don't have to take the whole network down to upgrade that piece of the automation, which is why I'm bullish on Keeta, because it's a DAG, it's modular. They can actually, without interrupting the rest of the network, they can actually, upgrade a piece of it and just, basically in real time upgrade it. So, it's really important to understand, how these technologies work before you start investing in them. You need to understand the fundamentals and the technology because we are moving from a speculative market where everyone was, for lack of a better term, speculating or guessing on how this technology was going to be used. Was Bitcoin going to be a store of value? Up until recently, when institutions were legally able to start buying it, it was pure speculation. It was just a bunch of people like me and you that were buying it because we saw the potential. Um, a lot of these, RWA and DeFi, projects, up until, government adoption, and government regulation, it was 100% speculation. It was people like me and you just, swapping and providing liquidity and hoping that, this was going to be adopted. Now we see that these things are being adopted. This technology is being adopted by banks, JP Morgan Chase, by governments, the US government, by governments around the world. This is going to happen. You know, DeFi and TradFi at some point, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be seamless. There isn't going to be TradFi and DeFi. It's just going to be finance. It's, they're good. These modern technologies, this blockchain technology is just going to modernize the stock market, just like the internet, modernized, the stock market and finance and, a lot of other things. As technology moves and evolves, then it gets adopted and they find new ways to use it. Utility. It's, this is, AI, blockchain technology, and robotics are, going to be what is going to reshape the future in the very near future. If you're not ready for it, get ready because robotics and AI is going to replace a lot of jobs. I mean, I see it in all the business owners that I know. My brother, he's on a bunch of our episodes. He is an estate lawyer. He owns multiple law firms, does estate law, wills, trusts, things like that. He's already replaced a bunch of his employees. Like all of his legal assistants and things like that. He replaced them because AI does everything that they were doing and does it faster and cheaper. Robotics, as robotics get better, you're going to start. You're already seeing it. Automated fast food. Construction sites. You're going to start seeing robots at already you're seeing it, but it's going to be the majority. You don't have to worry about people getting sick. You don't have to worry about people getting hurt. The cost of building is going to go down. They're going to build robots can build 24/7. There is no downtime. They don't get sick. They don't take vacations. They don't go on strike. It's going to happen. AI, I use it daily for this show, for research. I do it to make the thumbnails for YouTube. To write the descriptions. I mean, it's just boom, boom. I can knock out a live stream in like 15-20 minutes. I can be ready for a live stream in 15-20 minutes, start to finish. It used to take me a whole day, to learn about a project. Now I can just say, give me bulleted, talking points on a project, and then I can just go down and learn about the project in 10-15 minutes. It's happening. Sorry, got on a bit of a rabbit trail there. Oh yeah, wispy. I forgot to spin too. Do my plume spin today. Actually, you know what? What is up? Huh. The plume portal is down right now. For me anyway. All right. So, yeah, as you can see here, it's over 200 apps and protocols building on Plume. So yeah, I'm very, very bullish on Plume, and we just had a dip on it. So let's see, Plume. Yeah, we're down to like below 11 cents now. I backed up the truck. I used a couple $1,000s of my wrapped ETH that I earned off of Keeta, that Keeta pool, and I bought more Plume. So yeah, there's that. Yeah. So okay, it's not just me. Wispy says the Plume portals won't load for him either. That's all right. All right, I'll do it later. What else we got for you before we cut this off? Hey, I appreciate all of you. We got 400 people watching us live right now. One of our best live streams yet. If you could, please come over to our YouTube channel, DeFi Crypto and Airdrops. Throw us a follow. Um, again, we do all this for free. We don't do sponsors. We don't get paid by anybody. We don't ask you to buy memberships. We don't do super chats. Uh, you know, we don't we don't get paid at all. I have never once earned a single dollar. Jeff has not earned a single dollar off of this channel. We do this 100% for love of the game. So, please like, share, follow. We greatly appreciate it. And we're not looking to modernize or monetize anytime soon. It's we just love building the community. Oh, we got my boy Jeff is the BRC142. He's in the chat. He is the DeFi or not DeFi. He is the airdrop king. That guy is a machine when it comes to airdrops. If you're interested in airdrops at all, he's constantly showing how to find and how to earn free crypto. He's actually doing airdrops right now for our channel wallet, just getting free money. And once he has some available that we can cash out, I'm going to start DeFiing it, and we're going to see how big, for 100% free, money, where we're not, adding any of our own money to it. We're going to just build an account or a wallet 100% with free money and see how big we can build it. And at the end of this bull run, we're going to do a giveaway, and we'll see how much that's going to be. But yeah, we're gonna give a portion of it away to the community. So like I said, follow us. But let's see what else. Let me see how my Keeta pool is doing. So I'm up to 85, $90. I'm up to $90 since we went live on the Keeta pools. Love it. All right. We can close that out. Those of you, you know what? I don't want to end it on a negative note, but and I don't know everything about XRP. And I don't mean this as fun. You'll make money on XRP, but it's important to respect fundamentals and logic and reason. And I'm always having conversations with people on X. In fact, I'll share it. So I've been going back and forth with this guy about XRP, and this online atlas seems to be a really good guy. Really, knowledgeable and passionate about XRP. But and I was one of the top holders of XRP all through the bear market. I held over 30,000 XRP. I sold in this last pump, and reason being is that Ripple came out with RLUSD, which is a stable coin. And once they did that, the potential dropped in my mind for XRP. XRP, the whole premise was that it was going to be used to move liquidity. And the fact that they came out with a stable coin takes away that use case from XRP. Because if you're wanting to move liquidity, like say, for the cross-border payments thing that they're trying to capture, if Bank A is going to send $1 million to Bank B, one in the US and one, in Saudi Arabia. Somebody wants to send $1 million. Before, the narrative was they would have to buy XRP, move that value or that liquidity to the other bank, and then they would cash out that XRP into whatever, currency that that person, wanted at bank B. With RLUSD, a stable coin, people are going and institutions are going to use a stable coin to move that liquidity or value, because they're not going to use a volatile asset to move liquidity, because when you initiate that transfer, it might only take a couple of seconds or a fraction of a second, but you've seen the volatility of the markets. And if you're sending millions or billions of dollars, 1 or 2% change can be tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars that you could potentially lose in a transfer. Banks and institutions are not going to stand for that. They're going to use a stable coin. And that is why Ripple came up with RLUSD, is they understood that. So XRP, like it or not, my understanding is nothing but a gas token now. It is not going to move any value. The XRPL, the XRP ledger, the technology itself is what the value is moved on. RLUSD will be the vehicle. Think of the XRP ledger as railroad tracks. RLUSD will be the freight train that will move the value. And XRP is the gas that fuels that train to move the value and is reusable. XRP, you can buy XRP to pay the gas fees. You pay the gas fees. That XRP still exists and it will go somewhere else. Somebody else will buy it and they will use it for gas as well. It's a reusable gas token now. The only thing that's pumping XRP right now, in my opinion, with my knowledge that I have right now, through the 4 years that I've been learning about it, it is just a gas token now. There's nothing more to it. So Bank A, they're going to buy RLUSD, pegged to the US dollar. They're going to move that value, and then they're going to sell that RLUSD into whatever currency they want. I can't put it any more simply than that. That is how it's going to work. And use AI, yeah. And, banks, they'll have their own stable coins. There's a million stable coins out there that, what is it? USDC is live on the XRP ledger now. So you can use RLUSD and you can use USDC now. There is no reason for a high value XRP. There just isn't. XRP is whatever the value is, whatever people are willing to pay for it. And beware of any token that you see being hyped up on social media. And if you try to say something about it and you're getting reported and banned, like on TikTok, I can't tell you how many times I've been reported for saying what I'm saying right now. I'm not fudding XRP. People will make money on XRP. I'm just stating facts. This is how the technology works. This is what Ripple is doing. This is how banks and governments and large institutions think. I'm not emotional about it at all. I hope you all make a bunch of money on XRP. I sold mine. I was in the top 3% of holders. I sold every single XRP token I had when XRP pumped because I saw the writing on the wall. Did I make a mistake? Maybe. Maybe XRP is going to go to $10,000 like some people are claiming. I don't see it. I don't see how it's possible. Again, it's a reusable gas token. People aren't going to invest in a reusable gas token. I bought when I sold my XRP, I used a chunk of it and I bought the Ripple pre-IPO on Link2 because I see great things for Ripple, but Ripple is not XRP. Ripple, has a big chunk of XRP that they, monthly they have unlocks, and most of the time they lock it back up. But they dump, quite often. They sell. All right, let's go through the chat a little bit. I appreciate all of you too. Deadwood, all you guys that show up each time and get in the chat and and ask questions. That's why we do this. So if you're on X, please, come over to YouTube. I would love if I'm up in the night or I'm full of shit, by all means, call me out on it. The Keeta community, they were in here the other day, and when we were doing our deep dive, and I actually gave out some bad info. I have 100%. I'm all about integrity. They called me out on it. We looked it up live on the stream. You can watch it. And I was wrong. It's I can't be right all the time. So I'll be the first one to admit if I'm wrong. If you can prove me wrong with facts, logic, I'll admit it. But everything that I see about XRP is that XRP is not going, it might go to $5. It might go to $6. But it's not going to $10,000. I do not see a path to $10,000 unless everyone, a lot of people with a lot of money just blindly bought XRP just to buy XRP. And then it's pretty much just a Ponzi because you're going to be exit liquidity. Unless you got in early, the people that are buying it at the in the FOMO, you're going to be the exit liquidity for the people that are hyping it right now. All right. Yeah, and I mean, and that's a valid point. Potentially, if KTA, can do all the stuff that it says it can do, excuse me, like with compliance. Again, a big part of banks and institutions. They want compliance. If you can use a chain like KTA, or Keeta, and all of it is all native, on chain. You got compliance, you got the speed, you got it's cheap, it's all those things that they want to see. Um, it's scalable, highly scalable. It's faster. It's a DAG is just a much better model than a linear blockchain when it comes to financial markets. The upgradable aspect. XRP. It didn't even have smart contracts until Flare. That is the whole premise of Flare. Is and I own Flare. I've been earning on it for since I got airdropped for holding XRP. But Flare is the what brought smart contracts to where you could have DeFi on the XRP ledger. Without smart contracts, you pretty much can't have DeFi. So everything that XRP wants to be, there's a lot of other projects out there that that meet or exceed that natively. So Plume, for example, they have their own stable RLUSD, and they have it on. They have a thriving ecosystem. I don't know of any real XRP DeFi. Plume. I mean, they have 5 different that I can name off the top of my head. DeFi protocols that you can go to. They're still ramping up, as far as building TVL and stuff like that. But, mainnet just went live, like last week. Let's see. The only thing that pumped XRP was the SEC dropping the lawsuit for the most part. For the most part. There's been a lot of bullish news, about XRP and Ripple and stuff like that, as far as partnerships and, people they're meeting with and, things like that. But yeah, you're right, Victor. Little pump on Bitcoin right now. Link is what XRP was trying to be. I don't necessarily agree with that. Two totally different use cases. Wispy, sorry. Like I said, I gotta I gotta stay logical and deal in facts. Link or Chainlink is an oracle. It is connecting chains. So interoperability. So letting XRP talk to Ethereum, and Ethereum to talk to Cardano, and it basically is the, for lack of a better term, kind of the TCP/IP, if I'm understanding that technology right, of of the internet, that allows different applications to talk to each other. So it's kind of like a communication node, um, whereas XRP is more focused on moving liquidity, cross border payments, things like that. That's what they're really focused in on. So not quite the same thing. I mean more in the dependence. Not quite sure what you mean, but sorry if I misunderstood. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I wanted to just live stream that stress test. It was just really, and I think it was really important. Those of us that hold Keeta to see if that was going to hold up. Sorry, got a little bit of a runny nose. Um, to see if that held up. Let's see what price is doing right now. All right, all right. So we're sitting at a $1.20. All right, shoot out any questions you got. Any questions, comments? I'm going to wrap this thing up. Got some chores to do outside today. All right, all right. So, yeah. See, I mean, this is what I'm talking about with these lines of support and resistance. Just so key when it comes to understanding the psychology of the price movement, and choosing ranges in your liquidity pools. If you're going to learn anything about technical analysis, this is really what you need to know. You can just look at where this stuff you know bounces off of. So I mean, I can just go through here and just find all these different places where price movement, and I usually go with candle bodies, not wicks, because wicks they'll wick up and come back down, and you'll come back into range. Um, so you can see, I threw up these lines. This bottom line here, you can see it was bouncing off of that. At the top, it was bouncing off of this one, and then once it broke up above it, same thing, came down, bounced off of it, bounced off of this. It just ping pongs back and forth. And that's how we make money in DeFi, is recognizing these ranges. Because the whole time, if you're in a range position that it's bouncing around, you can see it. Even came down out of here, bounced off this lower one, and came back into the same range. Again, we pumped on KTA. So, all this time you're getting price appreciation, bounced around here, broke down, been bouncing around in here, kind of come up into here a little bit, but for the most part, sticking in this range. So, that's kind of the long and the short of it. But me, in closing, I'm bullish on KTA. After seeing what I saw, I don't care about price. Price will come. Good solid projects, they'll shine. KTA, Plume, same thing. You see, we just had a successful test on this. We're testing some recent lows. You come over to Plume, same thing. Great project. In my opinion, not financial advice, but I backed up the truck, and I might, if it drops below 10 cents, I'll probably back up the truck some more. But you can see here, at one point, we were up at 23 cents. We're down at 10 cents right now. So, and Plume is, I see nothing but bullish things. All of the alts, all of the alts right now are just beat down. And with DeFi, I'm just earning free crypto, at these lows. So, in closing, come on over to the channel, man. You know, start learning about airdrops. Start learning how to use your own money. Beautiful thing about it. With airdrops and with DeFi, even if you just want to seed it with a little bit of your own money, just to jumpstart it, you can you can earn airdrops by doing certain tasks, and helping them test networks, new projects, and use that to DeFi, and you can put that in lending. You can put that in full range pools to where you don't have to watch it. It's just on automation, and it's just 24/7, 365 making you money. You're not going to make as much, but if you build out a good portfolio with a base in lending and full range pools and staking and things like that, you just have mailbox money coming in, and then take small amounts and try out ranged positions to where you can boost your earning. So instead of earning like, 10, 20, 30, 40%, then you start getting to where you're earning, hundreds of percent or thousands of percent, APR, and your average is, in the hundreds or something like that. So again, knowledge is power, and your money sitting in a bank, the US dollar, the way that it's being depreciated, through printing, and the bank using your money to lend out to people, and they're making 7, 8, 9% APR, and you're making a fraction of a percent, take back that power. You know, put that in crypto, put that in DeFi. Start earning, start hedging that inflation with, DeFi and earning. Don't watch the value of your dollar going down. The price of things is going up because of inflation. It's the things are not getting more expensive to produce. The value of the dollar is going down. That is what's going on. So with that, till next time, Veteran Crypto out.